Welcome back. Leaders of the three main English language parties, or parties in English Canada, Liberals, the Conservatives, and the New Democrat Party, are, all promising solutions to housing should they be elected. Let's get some perspective from an expert. He's an economist who closely follows the housing issue in Ontario in particular. Mike Moffatt is an economist and senior director of policy and innovation at the Smart Prosperity Institute. First of all, Mike, what is the Smart Prosperity Institute? Who's behind it?
Yeah, we're a think tank housed at the University of Ottawa, looking at any policies involving the economy and the environment.
Have you heard anything from the Liberals, the Conservatives, or the New Democratic Party that you like on the housing file? Do you think any of them has got a jump on this big issue?
Well, I certainly think they're all moving in the right direction. The Conservative promise to eliminate GST on homes under 1.3 million. I think we'll get more homes built. The Liberals are looking at bringing back the old MERB tax incentive to help build more rental apartments. So there are some good policies there. I don't think any of the parties are going to have enough to solve the crisis, but they are moving in the right direction.
What about Mark Carney's pledge to get the federal government back into building affordable housing?
Well, the federal government's been doing this a little bit since 2017. Carney is suggesting he take it further and actually act as a developer and create a new crown corporation. It's an ambitious plan, but I think a little bit of skepticism is warranted because it is so ambitious. You know, creating a new crown corporation out of scratch to be a developer is going to be a challenge for the government to pull off.
We often hear that the three tiers of government, federal, provincial, and municipal, need to get together, coordinate their processes, and particularly at the municipal level, reduce unnecessary roadblocks to the construction of new homes. It often gets spoken about as if this can be accomplished very easily by just three people sitting down and agreeing to get it done. It's proving to be much more difficult than that, is it not?
Yeah, it absolutely is, because the federal government has no direct control over municipalities. And all of the parties agree, for instance, that development charges at the municipal level are far too high. But they can't dictate to municipalities to lower them. What they can do is create a bunch of incentive programs and try to incentivize municipalities to do the right thing, but they can't force them to do it. And there's always challenges around, coming up with agreements and actually making sure that those municipalities live up to their word.
In 2022, so 3 years ago, a group known as the Ontario Housing Affordability Task Force released a series of 55 recommendations, and the target was, at that time, to build 1.5 million new homes in the province in the next 10 years by 2032. What has happened in the 3 years since? Has the province of Ontario made meaningful change and meaningful progress towards that goal?
Yeah, unfortunately not. So that's about 150,000 homes a year, and we still haven't cracked 100,000. And in fact, in any year, and in fact, our numbers have gone down over the last couple of years. A lot of that has to do with economic conditions, particularly the kind of meltdown of Toronto's condo market. So it's not necessarily policy driven. But overall, we haven't seen the big transformative changes we need from the Ontario government to hit such an ambitious target.
What do we need?
Well, a lot of things. The first thing is development charge reform. Parts of Ontario, it can cost over $200,000 just in municipal taxes and the interest that goes along with it, just for the permission to build a home. So we absolutely need to deal with that.
Is that one single home? Is that $200,000 for permission to build one single home?
$200,000 to build one single home in parts of the York region. To put that in perspective, my entire house 20 years ago cost less than $200,000. That's just taxes. You have to look at things like approvals processes. The Canadian home builders have looked at this, that in the GTA and the City of Toronto specifically, approval times tend to be 2 to 3 times in the rest of the country. So a lot of that is all of these municipal rules, municipal taxes, But at the end of the day, municipalities are creatures of the province. The province can step in at any time, change the provincial frameworks to, have municipalities streamline their processes and lower taxes.
And why are they not doing that?
It's a bit of a surprise to me. Now, the province has tried on a few occasions, often gotten blowback from municipalities and walked these reforms back. Premier Ford has a very large mandate given to him from the people. So I'm hopeful that he can be a little bit more aggressive in reforms over the coming months, since this is his third majority in a row, and Ontarians seem to be pretty good with the Ford government's approach.
What are your thoughts on affordable housing? There are many people who can't afford a market-priced home, and you've got to think that slice of the population is larger than it once was, with the larger population we've got and the runaway housing prices that we've seen, certainly in the single-family home market. What are your thoughts on the right way for governments to encourage or build affordable housing?
Yeah, I think we need a two-track approach. One is on the market side, look at red tape, taxes, that kind of thing. But you're absolutely right that there's always going to be a segment of the population that's not going to be able to afford those market prices. So I do think government should step in. I think the federal government has an important role with things like federal land, like financing programs, working with not-for-profits, working with groups like Habitat for Humanity to try and develop social housing. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're building it themselves. They can act as a developer. They can work with non-for-profits, church groups, that kind of thing to get this done. So I think there's a variety of policy instruments that different governments can use, but absolutely we need more social housing in this country.
Mike, thank you so much for a good conversation. Mike Moffatt is economist and senior director of policy and information at the Smart Prosperity Institute at the University of Ottawa.